Beets are loaded with nutrients and are absolutely delicious. In today's episode, let's look at growing beets. So the best way to start beets is to direct sow them. Here we are sowing them in a whiskey barrel container, but you can sow these seeds anywhere in the ground or in the raised beds as well. And although this is the way I recommend that you start beets, you can also start beets in seed starting kits like these. And this season I did start my beet seeds separately in these seed starting pellets. And if you've watched my monthly gardening series, you might have seen that I've planted this in the fall season. I started sowing my seeds in the fall season, and then now I'm transplanting these beets. Now beets are cool season crops, so start your beets or transplant them when the temperatures reach to about 50 to 60 degrees on an average. And beets will survive low temperatures and they will actually do very well in low temperatures. Also make sure that your beet plants are getting enough sunlight. Usually beets need about 6 to 8 hours of sunlight because the winter sun is not that strong. However, I would say that you need at least about 5 hours of sunlight for your beet plants. If you don't have a sunny spot for your beets, you're going to be seeing very less of the root development and your beets won't look as healthy. Now to get decent sized beet roots, you need to space them apart. And I grow beets for both the roots as well as the tops. So I've spaced them about 4 to 6 inches apart. But if you want really big roots, you need to space them even further apart, at least about 8 inches or so, and then at least about 12 inches between rows. But in my case, since I use the beets in such a way that we cook the beet roots as well as the beet greens together, and that is why I'm looking for medium to large size roots. And now let's look at the harvest. As you can see here, the harvest that we have is pretty decent. The beet roots are pretty decently sized. Now do not expect monster sized roots as the ones you find in the grocery store. When you're growing organically, you can expect some compromise on the size of the beet roots. However, they are delicious. And since we will be using both the tops as well as the roots, this is a pretty good harvest. And as you can see here, beautiful looking roots after they have been washed. These are the beet roots, and then the greens as well, absolutely fresh and delicious. And I've grown beets in the past as well, and this is how the harvest turned out on a couple of occasions. And you can see that the beet roots haven't grown to a large size. And that was partly because of the spacing and partly because they were not getting enough sunlight. Now if you look at this beetroot right here, it's pretty well sized. It's a pretty big beetroot, and this is because the soil here is a lot more sandy than the one in my raised beds. Now beetroots prefer sandy soil naturally, so if you have sandy soil, you can expect to get slightly larger beetroots. And another amendment that I did for this area was that I added a lot of bone meal, which has a lot of phosphorus, and that's great for developing big beetroots. So there we have it, folks. That was our episode on growing beets. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Give us a thumbs up if you liked this video, and we'll see you again soon. Happy gardening.